welcome to my channel. I'm Sarah Elmline. I'm a BCBA and this is your ABA Help. Independent contractor / 1099 or W-2. Which one's better for you? Which one are you currently in and why should you care? Today we're going to talk about how ABA companies can take advantage of you if you don't know the difference and how they already are. We're going to talk about the pros and cons, which is the better option. We are also going to hit on what to do if you figure out that you are being taken advantage of. First, let's talk about what a W-2 employee is and isn't. So the first main point here I want to make is it's a tax classification. So it comes down to the IRS, which form, for taxes you're gonna get at the end of the year, your company has to pay you a certain amount. It all comes down to job expectations, tax classifications. There's some rules on the irsboard.com that will be linked below that you can check out at the end of this video if you are curious and want to read more on this information. But just remember, it comes down to taxes, which is a big deal. When we talk about why a company would dedicate its employees to be a W-2 or 1099, the main reason is going to be cost for them. So a W-2 employee is going to be paying taxes on that employee. They're expected to pay Social Security, they're expected to pay into Medicare. So your employer, the company you work for, is paying half of what you pay also on your check. They pay the other half to the state. They also have taxes that they have to pay. There might be workman's compensation that they might pay, liability insurance, all those things they're paying behind the scenes because you're a W-2 employee, which can be really expensive. And that's where you're going to see kind of the impact in your pay. In addition to the impact to your pay, you'll see benefits as a W-2 employee. You might get a retirement, you might get healthcare, you might get PTO, bonuses, things like that are going to be with a W-2 employee. Typically, you are going to have maybe a flexible schedule or a schedule that is laid out for you, an expectation that you are at the job from this time to that time. In-home ABA is usually a little different, but they reserve the right to dictate your schedule. Though they have control in the sense of you are working for them, you need to work the X amount of hours agreed upon. That's right that they can exercise. Then you have rights as well under a W-2 employee. So you are able to get FMLA, state and federal regulations coverage, so things like OSHA might protect you more as a W-2 employee. And we'll get into 1099 independent contractors. They have a lot of protections as well, but it's different. The expectations are going to be different for a W-2 employee. So when you sum all this information up, what does it mean for you as a W-2 employee? You can expect scheduled time that you're working, especially if you're in clinic. Typically, you're going to know your hours that you're working, and they have the right to expect you to work those hours. You're going to expect a lower pay compared to a contractor because the companies have to pay all of these fees, provide benefits, provide healthcare, various things there. Also, at the end of the year when you go to file your taxes, typically you're not going to be owing as much depending on what you claim and what you file. However, compared to 1099, you're not going to be owing nearly as many taxes, and we'll get into why. So take that information about the W-2, and now we're going to get to a 1099. Alright, 1099 / independent contractor. Those are interchangeable terms. 1099 is the tax form that you get, so sometimes the position is referred to that, and sometimes you'll hear me refer to that. The kind of layman's terms of it is an independent contractor. I'll refer to it as an independent contractor from here out. For an independent contractor, the biggest, most important thing you need to know right off the bat is you are self-employed. You are your own business entity. Independent contractors are responsible for their taxes. This is a big way that you're going to know you're an independent contractor because the company that you are hired with or contracted with, they are not taking out any of your taxes. If you see taxes like Medicare and Social Security coming out in your check, you are a W-2 employee, just point blank. If you are not getting those taken out automatically, there are some exceptions. If you work less hours than the baseline of taxes being removed, you might not see those taxes come out. So make sure you ask your employer and specifications if you're a little confused on which one you are. However, generally, if you're in a full-time position especially, taxes are not being taken out, you are an independent contractor per IRS's view, and then you're going to be coming for taxes at tax year, which it just passed. So if you're looking for a new position coming this summer, that's something you're going to want to pay attention to because a year from now, that's going to be a lot of money you're going to owe. Our next big thing to know about the independent contractor is you are not receiving any benefits. You are not entitled to bonuses or healthcare or anything like that. The way I like to frame this position is think of it as like a plumber that you hire for a job or a photographer for your family's pictures. You hire that photographer, you pay them a set amount, you have a contract, you agree upon the services, expectations are laid out, you sign it, they perform the service, which is take the family's pictures, deliver the pictures, the relationship is now ended. They are an independent contractor. That photographer is typically self-employed. They are their own boss, stuff like that. So when you think about this position, think about it in that way. Same thing as a BCBA. If you're going into being an independent contractor, you are coming in, you're performing a service. In a contract, typically you're gonna lay out your own fees, and we'll talk about considerations you may make into that fee, but you lay out your own fee, you're not asking the company for benefits, you're not asking them for healthcare and insurance and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. So if you are an independent contractor, you're in charge of your own taxes, you're in charge of your own business, which means there's some obligations you have. Look into a minute. Also, as an independent contractor, you have rights. So the photographer you hire has rights in this situation. They're much different than a W-2. So if this is a position you're interested in, make sure you talk to someone. Make sure you talk to whether it's an attorney, lawyer, or an accountant, get a good idea of what that looks like, especially in the role of ABA. There's a lot of exploitation that happens. Guys, listen up. If you are an RBT and you are like, wait a second, I think I'm a 1099, or you know you're a 1099, I need you to pump the brakes right now and reach out to someone, whether it's a lawyer or accountant or your HR payroll department, and just double check before you pick up your pitchforks, guys. But if you're an RBT and you're in a 1099 position, that company is absolutely engaging in illegal activity. It's been laid out by the IRS. The BCBA has laid it out as well. That is not allowed. It's unethical. And a big reason for that, another disadvantage potentially of 1099, depending on your perspective, is you don't get supervision as a 1099 independent contractor position. Because, think about it again as a photographer, you're not hiring that photographer with the expectation that they come in and you provide training to them. The expectation is they come in, they do their job, you pay them for service, they leave. RBTs, by the board standards, have to have supervision. And this is where it gets a little tricky because BCABAs also need supervision. However, from what I understand, the board has not specifically laid out the contingencies on that. If you're BCABA in a 1099 position, guys, speak up, think twice, because it all comes back on you. It comes back on your license, it comes back on your RBT certification, the taxes, the lawyer fees, all that can come back on you. These big companies think they can get away with this, and they have, but eventually somebody's gonna get caught and it's gonna trickle out. So be careful. 1099 position, you're going to be getting more money. Your pay is gonna be higher. You're gonna expect more flexibility in your schedule typically. Some companies take advantage of that as well. We'll talk about that in a minute. Typically though, especially as a BCBA, your pay is gonna be much higher. You could look at maybe even double the same pay as a BCBA would make in a W-2 position. However, it comes down to you and factoring out, does that make sense? Does, the loss in having to pay for X amount of things that we'll talk about make sense for you? Independent contractor. This position, I've kind of alluded that you're your own business, so you need to get your own tax ID, or you can use your social security number, but you need to get your own business name, identification. You need to have your own insurance, like liability insurance as a BCBA. You need to provide your own materials, your own computer, your own assessment tools. The expectation again is photographer showing up with that camera and everything they need. You need to show up with everything you need as well. And that's where it gets tricky, is you have to pay all these costs up front. So it kind of comes down to if that's something that's worth it for you for that higher pay, that'll pay off long term for you. If that is a benefit for you, if you're purely looking for more money and kind of that long-term growth in that way, that independence, 1099 independent contractor role might be a good position for you. However, there's a lot of job security that's missing that I alluded to before, of they aren't required to follow FMLA. They aren't required to, give you notices. Some, states have different laws for self-employed individuals, but again, different from W-2. So do your research on what is the laws in your state, what rights you have. So 3 less obvious things to consider about an independent contractor. You're not going to be eligible for bonuses or promotions within that company. By definition of the role, it's not allowed and it wouldn't make sense. You're not going to be promoting your photographer, so you're not going to be promoting that BCBA, that's just an independent contractor role. You're definitely more to fill that maternity position or cover the last 3 months of that school district's BCBA that's leaving early, they got terminated. That's where your role might come in. You're coming, you're filling a service, and you're leaving. So bonuses and things typically are not going to be occurring, especially if they're not laid out in the contract that you provide or the company provides in order to have that relationship. The next one is you are subject to business taxes, guys. As an independent contractor, you have to pay taxes on your income. That's why these companies are able to pay you so much, because the company, your employer, isn't paying those taxes, so it all falls on you. Business taxes are expensive. Income taxes, state, local, county taxes, all of those, it's all up to you to pay those 100%. If you get health care for yourself as an independent contractor, you have to pay the full health care. So typically, as a W-2 employee, when you pay health care, most companies offer it as they pay half, you pay the other half. Now you're paying all of that. That could be $1,000 a month. Up to you to consider if it all makes sense when you make your little budget sheet. Does it make sense for you? The third one I kind of mentioned, but you have to have your own liability insurance. There's general liability, there's professional liability, there's like cybersecurity attack insurance. There's a lot that you might want to consider in your role, especially as we deal with HIPAA sensitive information. It's expensive. Again, it adds up. Things are getting more and more expensive. So again, looking into that hourly fee that company's willing to pay, does it make sense for you? So, which is better? This comes down to your goals and your personal, professional needs. For example, if you want more money, if that is just the top priority for you, which no judgment, things are expensive. 1099 independent contractor role is going to be the way to go. They're going to pay you more in the beginning. However, you've got to see if the cost after everything makes sense and you're still making more. For example, if an independent contractor position is being offered $75 an hour, after you take all those fees per hour, and we can make a separate video on how to do that if you guys would like. Does it compete with that $35 an hour position that's offered at all the other companies? Does it make sense for what you need? It does? Great, there's your answer. If your other goal is autonomy, so you have little kids, or you just really want to be in control of your schedule, you're balancing a lot, whatever the reason is, and you just want autonomy, no big deal. Again, independent contractors gotta be the way to go, because you are your own company. You say yes or no to whatever you want. They can't make you. They can't threaten your job. It's just might be the termination of the contract that you guys could have had or would have laid out. But it's all your say, your service that you're offering. The last one is, you really want supervision. I know this is really important for a lot of BCBAs in this field. They really want that supervisor, that guidance, that leadership, because they're maybe a little unsure, or maybe they just value those relationships. As a 1099, guys, that's not going to be happening. So W-2 position, going to be the right fit for you there, and the right company, I should say. Because if you don't have the right company, you can be a W-2 employee and they still might not provide the supervision, but you are going to nail your interview and you're going to shop around to find the company that's a good fit for you, that's going to offer those goals for you. I do plan to make a video on talking about your goals in the field and how to get your goals met, and creating a template for how to plan your job interviews, how to plan and what questions to ask, because it's all important. Being a BCBA is exhausting. Also, if you're a BCABA, even more exhausting. That is such a difficult role. It's not a joke. So we'll be talking about that. All right, guys, lastly, let's get real. If you are feeling confused, if you are feeling like, wait a second, I don't know which one I am, reach out, ask for help. They'll answer these questions. They don't have any reason not to. They don't have anything to hide. You're just gonna ask them, which one am I? Can I have clarification? Once you have that clarification, if you find out that you are kind of maybe illegally being a 1099 employee, or you're being treated in a way that doesn't align with our conversation that we had in your research after you follow up, look on the IRS website and the Reddit forums that all apply to this information, and you talk to an accountant, you're like, wait a second, reach out to a lawyer, attorney, and accountant. My first suggestion is obviously talk to them and be like, hey, I'm confused. Maybe in your state there's some fine print that they're able to do what they are doing. Reach out, have those conversations. Don't grab that pitchfork and start running. I have the character default of doing that sometimes, so be careful there. Reach out, ask questions, figure out what's going on. If not, seek legal help, because guys, this will fall back on your license and your tax fees. If they found out you were at 1099 and you were only getting W-2 taxes out, you could pay thousands of taxes that the business was supposed to be paying or should have been your responsibility, stuff like that. Be careful, proceed with caution. Sometimes these companies in the ABA world just don't care, and they're big and powerful, but I care about you as a person, and you need to care about yourself as a person, and we need to educate others. If you take one thing from this video, can we just scream from the rooftops for RVTs that they are being taken advantage if they are in a 1099 role? Scream it, yell it, whatever we need to do. That needs to stop. That should have stopped a long time ago, but unfortunately, it's still going strong. Or put all that information together, guys, and see what's a good fit for you. Shop around if you're on the market for a new job. Talk to other companies, ask questions, get clarification on those job interviews. You guys got this. Advocate for yourselves. Be careful out there. Unfortunately, to say that. But I hope this information was helpful, a good foundation for you to do your own research off of. Make sure you ask those questions on Google and all that stuff. Gather your own information. Every state's gonna be different, guys. I only know what I know based off of my research. So do your research. If you have any accountant friends, ask them. They're gonna know these answers much better. That's everything I have today, guys. Make sure you comment other videos you would like to see. Make sure you subscribe so that way you can follow along on this journey and keep educating. The next video I'm gonna make, I believe, is gonna be how I made $100 an hour as a BCBA, which I was actually a W-2 in that position. And we're gonna talk about why that happened or how that happened and my confusion there and what prompted me to make this video. It's gonna be good. So make sure you subscribe, like, comment below. Have a great day, guys.